Time is fleeting, and memory even more so. Right now, your brain is assembling a tapestry of what you think is reality, but there's a profound chance that it's playing subtle tricks on you. You might recall a well-known brand name spelled differently, or a historical event that apparently never happened the way you remember. This phenomenon, known as the Mandela Effect, challenges the boundaries of truth and illusion, opening a doorway into our innate yearning for hidden knowledge. This isn't mere confusion or a pop culture quirk. It's an invitation to question the very fabric of your mind. Picture this: people all around the world collectively recalling Nelson Mandela dying in prison decades ago, only to discover he actually passed away in 2013. But how could so many hold the same incorrect memory? The phenomenon has expanded beyond that single example to include the Berenstain Bears' iconic movie lines and countless corporate logos. Beneath these illusions, there's a deeper realm, a mystic memory space where personal history and collective folklore merge. Some propose our consciousness might be shifting between parallel timelines, while others argue that our brains are simply rewriting neural tapestries to fill in gaps. But whichever explanation resonates, the effect points to an unseen labyrinth in how we store and retrieve information. So let me pose a question that might dislodge your certainty. Could your audio-visual memory of this very video change by the time we reach the end? What if you recall me wearing a different shirt, or the background color subtly altering itself mid-sentence? At first glance, that seems impossible. Yet these small glitches in memory parallel how easily our minds can revise the past, forging illusions of clarity where none exists. In this series, we'll wander through cryptic scientific findings and centuries-old philosophies that highlight memory's shape-shifting nature. If just a few well-placed false details can dissolve your conviction of what you've seen, imagine what else might be slipping through your mental cracks. Stay with me, because we're only moments away from unraveling the centuries-old secrets that tie your memories to something far more mystical than you ever suspected. Before we dive deeper, let's question a more ancient idea. Did our ancestors experience an early form of the Mandela Effect through what some scholars call ancestral memory? Millennia ago, people believed that knowledge could be passed down not just through stories or writings, but genetically, almost as if new generations inherited the experiences of those who came before. Myths like the blood memory of warriors or the shared dreamscapes of entire villages might have paved the way for how we collectively misremember events today. If we can recall battles we never fought or geographies we never visited, could our present-day false memories be echoes of these distant psychological frameworks? Curiosity seeps in when we contemplate how these ancestral imprints might blend with modern illusions. Some anthropologists suggest that legends of dragons, floods, or world-altering cataclysms arose because large groups remembered events from the distant past, events that earlier generations survived or only whispered of in cryptic rituals. These recollections, half-formed and systematically changed over centuries, warp into stories that feel simultaneously tangible and dreamlike. In a contemporary context, the Mandela Effect might be our high-tech version of this phenomenon. Vast swaths of society forging a patchwork memory. But is it merely cultural influence, or does it reflect an older, more mystical capacity for collective imagination? Here's a subtle twist. I want you to think back to the opening few seconds of this video. Did I mention a historical date, or perhaps a brand name that wasn't actually there? This micro-challenge to your memory might spark just enough confusion to highlight how easily we can invent or erase details. Our minds interpret patterns, fill gaps, and retroactively craft narratives. In embracing that uncertainty, we get closer to understanding the hidden engine behind phenomena like the Mandela Effect, and the possibility that ancient blood memories are quietly shaping our worldview. Because if one fleeting detail here can vanish or transpose itself, imagine the kaleidoscope of illusions that might be embedded in your day-to-day recollections. Now let's follow these phantom traces of collective and ancestral memory deeper, as we turn to the astonishing science that decodes how easily our recollections can be manipulated. Here's where it gets stranger. According to the DC Rodiger-McDermott (DRM) paradigm experiments, Our minds are shockingly susceptible to fabricating details under the right conditions. In these tests, participants hear or read a list of words all related to a single unmentioned lure word. Despite never encountering this lure, a majority recall it as though it were present. This has staggering implications. Our memory system is primed to fill in blanks with what it thinks belongs, effectively conjuring false illusions. So if a single nudge in a controlled study can spawn fictional recollections, what happens when the entire internet or mass media collectively nudges us toward an alternative version of events? This controlled laboratory phenomenon parallels the Mandela Effect in the wild, suggesting that our shared false memories aren't random glitches, but a byproduct of how human cognition organizes and reinterprets information. Perhaps that's why entire groups recall a movie line, "Luke, I am your father," that never technically existed in that form. The DRM paradigm breaks down the barrier between real and imagined data in our mental archives, proving how malleable memory can be. Yet the effect grows stronger when the suggested memory resonates with our emotional or cultural expectations. If we yearn for a simpler past or cling to iconic quotes, we might subconsciously reshape the details to fit that longing. Our minds become the ultimate illusionists. Now observe your immediate surroundings. Is there a plant behind me, or have I just described one that your mind might conjure on its own? Go ahead, rewind a few seconds. Check if you noticed a green fern or a lamp. This might feel like a trick question, but it's also a potent demonstration of how swiftly your memory can adapt to a new narrative. We don't just passively record reality, we actively compose it, layering each new piece of data over older recollections. That's why exploring experiments like the DRM paradigm is so crucial. They illuminate how even the simplest triggers can alter our mental tapes, forging illusions that run surprisingly deep. Next, we'll weave these lab findings into the grander tapestry of personal and communal memory illusions. Each new revelation about our memory's fallibility propels us to dig deeper. Think of your most cherished childhood recollection. The taste of a favorite ice cream, or the layout of your grandparents' living room. Are you absolutely certain each detail is correct? Over time, stories told by relatives, old photographs, or even nostalgic TV shows can seep into your personal recollection, reshaping what you long believed was an authentic memory. Multiply that by billions of people, and you start to sense the massive scope of our collective illusions. In many ways, the Mandela Effect signals a broader phenomenon. A constant rewriting of mental scripts that fuse fact, fiction, and cultural longing. Historical revisionism also plays a huge role. We base much of our recorded history on documents that themselves might be biased, incomplete, or subject to political spin. Meanwhile, personal testimonies form the backbone of famous events, yet eyewitness accounts are notoriously prone to error. Layer these complexities upon our neuroscientific vulnerabilities, and the lines blur even further. What if entire chapters of our accepted timeline are partly sculpted by collective false memories? That possibility pushes us to confront not only the reliability of our personal recollections, but also the stability of our cultural narrative. Is it any wonder so many find comfort in the supernatural or the mystical once they see how hazy factual reality can be? A surge of adrenaline often accompanies these realizations, fueling the momentum to seek answers. Are we tapping into some cosmic field of memories, or are we simply rewriting yesterday's notes to match the script we prefer? Studies highlighting micro-expressions, confirmation biases, and the plasticity of neural connections reveal that we shape our internal archives far more than we ever realized. This isn't just abstract theory. It affects everyday decisions, from how we remember a heated argument to how we handle moral dilemmas. Once you realize that memory is more of a fluid tapestry than a static photograph, you can't help but question everything, including what you thought you saw in the first part of this video. Dare we step further into the unknown? Here we stand, on the cusp of a reality-bending revelation. Every memory you cherish, every flashback you hold dear, might be just as fluid as the illusions attributed to the Mandela Effect. Our ancestors grappled with the notion that knowledge could be carried in the blood, and modern science shows us how easy it is for false memories to propagate through entire populations. Viewed through this lens, the boundary between personal recollection and collective myth dissolves. We occupy a realm where the DRM paradigm, supercharged by cultural influences, weaves a living tapestry of half-truths, reinterpretations, and downright fabrications. Yet rather than despair, we can seize this knowledge as a pathway to deeper self-awareness. Imagine the power in consciously shaping your own mental narratives, acknowledging that your recollections aren't perfect reels of the past, but creative reconstructions. By accepting this fluidity, you can become more empathetic, more critical, and more open to the mysteries of consciousness. The next time you catch yourself arguing over a misremembered quote or a rearranged timeline, consider it an invitation. You're being prompted to question how your mind catalogs experiences, selects details, and spins them back in story form. Embrace that uncertainty, and you'll discover there's nothing more thrilling than co-creating reality with every thought and every pulse of neural activity. The question isn't whether your memory can be tricked, it's what you decide to do with that knowledge. So here's my challenge for you. Take a moment to reflect on one certain memory and test its hidden seams. Share your discoveries in the comments. Did your memory shift when you tried to verify it, or did you find more questions than answers? By engaging in this collective experiment, you become part of a living tapestry of doubt and insight, bridging the gap between the centuries-old notion of ancestral knowledge and today's swirling illusions. If this journey has awakened something in you, a spark of curiosity or a suspicion that reality isn't quite as rigid as you once believed, then stay connected. Be sure to tap subscribe and share this video, because for all we know, tomorrow we might not even recall the conversation we're having right now.